Hello and welcome to Access Chat. I'm delighted that we're joined today by Sophia Warner, who is a Paralympian and founder of the Superhero series. Sophia, welcome. Please tell us a little bit about the Superhero series and what it is. And I know, but our audience probably doesn't. And I'm sure they're going to be really interested in the inclusive attitude to sport that you're bringing. So,
Yeah,
welcome.
okay. So I founded the Superhero series in 2017, and it's disability sports events, mass participation events, specifically and only exclusively for people with disabilities and their friends and families. And so when I say disabilities, people traditionally always think of things, wheelchair users and what have you, but actually it's any disability. So about 70% of our participants have invisible disabilities. So it includes long-term illness. Our youngest participant is 18 months and our oldest is 85. So it really is just mass participation with all rules and regulations taken out.
So, Um, so when you say you've taken out all the rules, what do people have to do to participate?
Okay, so we have two main events a year in person. One of them is just coming up now. It's called Winter Wonder Wheels. And for that one, it's a 1K, 5K, or 10K, any which way you can. So we have two paths that run parallel to one another, one of which you can walk or run or be pushed on. So you're going at walking speed. And on the other path, it's for adapted cycles and power chairs. So literally anything goes. So when I say rules and regulations are taken out, people can push, people can be pushed. But actually, the other main event, in-person event, is Superhero Tri, which has already been and gone in the summer. So that includes a swim component. And when I say rules are taken out, a lot of our participants get towed in boats for the swim stage. So it's our take on a triathlon. It's called Superhero Tri, and people think it means Superhero Triathlon, but it actually means three events. So you typically, and this isn't the ruling, you have a team of three people. One person does the swim, one does the bike, one does the run. And we would typically see a family take it on as a team, a family team, or a school take it on as a team. So I don't know, for example, the mum does the swim, the dad does the bike, and all three of them would come and do the run push stage together. But in order for people to be able to do as much as they want and the rules to be removed, we have people being towed in boats for the swim, pushed for the run stage, and pulled along on the bike stage. So literally anything goes.
Sophie, welcome to the program. I love the what you're doing, and I think it's really cool. You're a Paralympian as well, so congratulations on that. We are very, very proud of our Paralympians. Very proud. So, you know what? The thing that I love about it, I love that you've made it a family event, and I love that everybody's included. I also always personally wanted to do triathlon, just never did it, and I'm not sure I'm going to do it now. But triathlons can be very dangerous at the same time. And I know that's part of the excitement of, doing a triathlon, but I love how you have done it in a way that it is really encouraging the family come out or people to come out almost as a tribe to be included. And that I just feel I haven't seen in other groups. And so do you mind just exploring a little bit about that? I mean, it's a brilliant idea, but we haven't really seen that. I haven't seen that in the regular triathlons. So I was just curious if I've missed it or if you were really amazing, which I think is that's the answer.
Yeah, no, you know what? You're absolutely right. And even though I'm a Paralympian, my background is as 200-meter runner. So triathlon is not my thing. But I took part in the London Triathlon back in '96, and I was the first person with a disability to cross over the finish line. And actually, that's where this idea came to me, because I felt really excluded, and it wasn't their fault. I have cerebral palsy, so I couldn't get my bike down from the rack by myself, and I had to ask someone to help me as they were going past, and I couldn't get my wetsuit off. It's that kind of thing that people don't think of, and I didn't think of it because I was just doing it for fun. But trying to get your wetsuit off with one hand, and I just thought to myself, it doesn't have to be this difficult. So there's things that, exactly as you say, triathlon can be dangerous, but what we've done, so for the swim section, our swim safety team is one-on-one. So we have someone on a canoe next to every single person in the water. We also have a ruling that everybody who goes in the water has to wear a wetsuit, and that's if you're disabled or non-disabled. And the reason for that is so they have extra buoyancy. But one of the best bits of feedback we get is that no one has ever been in open water before. The people who are doing the event have that feeling of being in a really iconic venue, because Dorney Lake, which is where it's sited, is where the Olympic and Paralympic rowing was. So when people turn up to take part, they see this amazing venue and they can't quite believe that we're going to make it possible for them to go in there. So we have this amazing swim safety team. And then on top of that, we have a ramp that we have designed ourselves, because what I wanted to do was make it possible for people to get themselves in and out of the water, because I don't want people to help me. If I can get out, I want to get myself out. So we have a swim safety team of sidekicks, which are our volunteers. And we have something like 40 or 50 people down by the waterside. And the funny thing is, it's normally the non-disabled people that want help out of the water, because everyone else will drag themselves in or out, however they do it, because they just want to do it themselves. And then for the bike section, we work with a company called Get Cycling, who offer adapted cycles. And we have the most amazing contraptions there. Some of them don't even look like bikes. They are bikes with wheelchair platforms on the back. So we find a way to do everything. We say there's no cut-off times and there's no restrictions, and whatever you take as long as you want, and we'll find a way of getting you round.
So Sophie, how do you, is it a typical, sorry, I have a bunch of questions, and I know that Antonio and you want to talk to me, but is it a typical like experience in that it's timed? So the person that's going to win, okay, cool. Only because it's like, if I'm struggling because of my disability to get my wetsuit off, it seems like that should not be, I shouldn't be penalized for that. And I understand the realities of it, but I was just curious how you did that. And then I know Antonio.
And you know what? I've been on the receiving end of that. And actually, within Paralympic sport, we are lucky in some ways in that we're classified. So, for example, I'm a T35, and I know that, there's a quite a big variable within the T35, but I know that when I get on the track as an elite athlete a very long time ago, everyone in my race would also be a T35. We can't do that, because what we have is people who have autism taking part alongside somebody who had a rugby injury and is paralysed from the jaw downwards. So to give people timing, and that person's being carried around by his eight team members who are not paralysed. So, we can't give people timing, but what we do have is we have people come back and be the best version of themselves, and they often time themselves. You'll see on social media people saying, I'm 4 seconds faster than I was last year. But I can tell you, every year, at every single event, a guy that will win is a guy called Sam Holness. You should look him up. He's the first person with autism to do an Ironman, and he now holds the world record. But he comes in, he smashes it, and then we have people in exoskeleton suits take 4.5 hours to do 5K. There's no timing.
We'd love to interview him.
Oh, you really should. I should introduce you. He's amazing.
Please. Yes.
He's amazing.
So Sophia, if we look at the people who participate, can you tell us stories of why do they do it? Why they go into this adventure and participate on the event?
I think the same reason why I put it on, because first and foremost, we're the only one in the world that is exclusively for people with disabilities. And so I think there's this feeling that people want inclusion. And I personally want to be on my own. I want to prove to other people like myself that I'm the best out of what I could possibly be. I don't want to be included in a mainstream event and come last. So I think people come because it's a safe environment to be amongst other people like themselves and be the best they can be without people staring, without people asking questions. I think if you were to talk to people who've come to Superhero Series since our first one, they come back year after year and they all just feel safe in that environment.
I think sometimes we talk with some of our friends and people who participate on Access Chat, and some of them say, well, the fact that I have a disability doesn't mean I don't want to do a radical thing, or I don't want to experience radical sports. So how do you see this event changing perspectives on the people who surround the event, and to see the event, could be online, or it could be just who are just watching everything happening while it goes.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. So there's a couple of things on that. Firstly, the whole event is subsidised by sponsors, and I think it speaks. I mean, literally. So last year we gifted 60% of our places completely for free, and the rest of them are heavily subsidised. And I think it's really powerful that Marvel, stroke Disney, have headlined our event for the last 7 years, and they are still headlining for another 4. And the reason for that is because they use it as their D&I initiative, their sole D&I initiative, to demonstrate firsthand to their colleagues what's possible when you have a disability. So their colleagues come along every year as our sidekick volunteers, and we have 100% retention of all of our super partners. We work with Pfizer, Zurich, we work with some amazing brands who all see this as best in class when it comes to disability inclusion. So I think it does really demonstrate what's possible. And that's people who are onlooking. And then people who have the disabilities themselves, they're proving to themselves what they can achieve, because they have, a lot of them, first of all, haven't had the opportunity. Secondly, they do want to do it, but where do you go? I mean, I know there's nowhere else to go. And thirdly, once you've done it once, why wouldn't you just come back and see if you can do it a little bit quicker?
Sophia, you made me, whenever Antonio asked that question, he always asked good questions. It made me think of my daughter with Down syndrome. And Sarah's 37 years old, and she's walked some tough path, just like all of us. But she is such an adventurer. She does things I would never do. For example, we went into I'm scared of heights. So I chickened out in Costa Rica on the zip line. Not Sarah. Sarah went to a big theme park in the United States, and she did a parachute jump, which I was terrified, and I didn't want her to do it. And I was like, I did with all my mother ability. I did not want her to do it, but she wanted to. So I did get out of the way and let her do it. I was terrified, but people were just amazed watching her. People were just amazed. And so I think you're right. We want to show what we're made of, and don't assume we can't do something because. So I think this is so powerful. How long have you been doing it? How many years?
Yeah, our first event was in 2017. And you're absolutely right. But I think there's an easy thing to do in the disabled community and the non-disabled community, and that is to assume that everybody's the same. So there will be people who don't like sport in the disabled community, but there's 16 million people in the UK living with a disability. So we can pretty much assume that there will be the same percentage of those guys that do want to throw themselves into Dorney Lake and that don't. So, why not give them the opportunity? So, yeah, our first event was in 2017. And then when the pandemic hit, obviously we, like everybody, had to sort of change things around quite a lot. But actually, we'd already been in conversations with some of our super partners about the amount of feedback we were getting from superheroes about the fact that they couldn't travel to Dorney Lake, or that they didn't like crowds and didn't like noise. And did we have a quiet race, for people with autism and such like. And our event doesn't really match quiet. And so we'd already had an idea to take the event remotely, to have an event called At Home. So we launched At Home Superheroes. We now, since 2020, we've been running 2 of those a year alongside our live event. And for all of those superheroes, we send them a race pack with a finish line tape, a medal and a T-shirt, and they all run them from within their schools and communities. And that's proven to be a huge success as well. So I think during the pandemic, that went to 11,000 people. And they did it from their homes, gardens, and local communities. And we're still running those events alongside our events now. And we run them into SEN schools predominantly. But it means that there's absolutely no one, because I wanted to always say that we were 100% inclusive, and now I can, because included into that event, we have super sensory. So I guess in total, we have 4 events a year.
I think it's great that as someone that has come from elite sport, you recognise the need and the benefit of mass participation, because the Paralympics is very much an elite sport event, and it's quite easy to, as a couch potato, feel excluded from that. And actually, as a person that has a disability but wouldn't qualify under the Paralympic classifications, it's an interesting gap that you closed.
It's a huge gap, and it's massively frustrating. And, I feel very privileged to be from the old school Paralympics, where my being a Paralympian came from my absolute love of sport. I was born in the 70s, and there was no such thing as disability sport. You just kind of had to crack on with it. And so I wasn't somebody who was part of I competed in London, which was obviously phenomenal. But up until that stage, I only had 20 people in the crowd when I used to compete. So that's why I've done this for mass participation, because that's where I was born, into mass participation. I got spotted running a 10K. So, I saw the gap firsthand.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think that even if you don't love sport, you can love events that are about people and coming
absolutely.
together. So
I like to think of this as like the Tough Mudder for people with disabilities. And, as much as we love watching Park Run and all of these amazing events unfold, when you have a disability, it's not necessarily the problem that you become last or that you can't take part. It's the fact that everybody stares at you. So we all know the biggest barrier to sport is confidence. And so I think that's what the superhero series delivers, is confidence to people.
So, Sophia, is it fair to say that you somehow created a community around this?
Yeah, definitely. If you could go online and see the families that we have taken part. So I can think of lots of children who started when they were 3, who are now, I can't do math, but they're now 11 or 12. And but it's not really just about them, it's about their parents who are meeting other parents who have children with the same disabilities. There's always one little girl that I refer to who has a disability that only, I think it's 180 children in the whole world have this chromosome disability. Wow. Her name's Eve. And then they found another family, and now 4 of them take part in the event. It's amazing. So they come along with their parents and do the event. And it's great because those families get to talk about, some of these disabilities, especially with rare diseases. You don't meet anybody who has the same thing, and you can't talk to other parents about what the prognosis is. And so, I think the communities that we've built aren't just about the participants. Sometimes it's about just bringing people together to have a really good chat. And the other community that I think we've been really good for is the service people. So we work very closely with Invictus and Help for Heroes. And what we found out from them was that they often take part in sporting events themselves, but their wives or husbands or children don't get to be part of their rehab. Whereas the superhero series, they all get to do something together, which I think is really powerful as well.
Yeah, I think it's really important to bring the families together in a different way now. This is a silly point, but I was in Walmart yesterday, and they have these Christmas pajamas or holiday pajamas for the whole family.
Yeah,
the parents, the kids, and I looked at it and I thought, that's so silly. But I thought, but also sort of sweet, right? Because it's interesting to be a family, especially a family with a child with a more severe disability. And I agree with what you said, Sophia. The reality is being able to talk to other families that are dealing with the same thing that you're dealing with. It is a gift. It is a gift.
Yeah,
There's things
yeah,
you can
yeah.
share. You just can't. It's hard for other people to understand, and sometimes other people just get overwhelmed and almost feel so sorry for you that you don't have the impact either. Just even little silly things like when my daughter got very sick and gained so much weight all at once within 2 months, just the way society was treating her, like she can't control her eating when it was absolutely had nothing to do with eating. Being able to talk to other families that have experienced that, it's been a gift to me. And I also find that as my beautiful daughter continues to grow into adulthood, that sometimes it's a little bit more challenging for us as families. And
Oh,
so
definitely.
yeah, I just think it's so important to do what you're doing and bring the families together. That is a byproduct, but it's a powerful byproduct for us families.
Yeah, definitely. And I've definitely seen firsthand because I have children of my own now. And I now realise that my parents probably found it harder than I did now that I've got children, because it's much harder to deal with something for your kids than it is to deal with it by yourself.
Agree.
I think most of the parents that bring their children along drag their kids along to do the event so they can be there. But you see them pushing their children along in boats and like pulling them on bikes. And I've seen kids that are asleep while their parents are doing the event. So I think you're right. I think it is more about the family than themselves. But also, I mustn't sort of steer away from the fact that we also, because our winter event coincides with International Day of Disability, we have lots of organisations that are partners or corporate friends of ours who come and celebrate their International Day of Disability there with all of their D&I networks, because why wouldn't you celebrate your disability on that day? So we have quite a lot of corporates come along and take on the event in December, and you watch them all struggling around and having a bit of a giggle at the end and celebrating in what way better than just by dressing up as a superhero and trying to run 5K.
It's fantastic, and you've got all of these corporations involved in the UK. Any ambition to go beyond our shores and
Yeah,
take it wider?
Yeah, sort of. Do you know what? I'm really a big believer in doing something really, really well. And I think if the pandemic hadn't
Mm-hmm.
hit, I might have looked to try and do so. I love our events as they are. They're really good. We filled Superhero Tri was full for the first time this year. Winter Wonderworld is looking really busy, and we have had some approaches. We looked at Disneyland Paris actually was to work with Disney, and I think really it's about for me, holding the superhero ethos to its full extent is really important. So I have to find venues that are completely flat, so no one has to pay for parking, so that people don't have to worry about using their day chair. Because one of the things with the no rules and no regulations is that most of our participants don't have access to racing wheelchairs or super running blades. So I have to find a venue where people can take as long as they want and they don't need anything. So if I could find somewhere that enabled superheroes to unleash their superpowers to their full extent, then I would do it. But so far, beyond where we've found, that's been as far as we've got.
I mean, maybe the Netherlands is pretty darn flat.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, definitely. They've got plenty of bikes there for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but that's a good point. I mean, I think maintaining the quality and the ethos of the event is really important and more important than just sort of going out and cookie cuttering.
Yeah.
And that's usually when you start seeing people fail too, is when they try to grow it too quickly. I'm thinking of restaurants. It seems like they're good, and then they start getting too many, and right. So
Yeah, and anyone who works with me will tell you I'm a complete control freak about the brand, and I'm not just talking about how it looks. I'm talking about if someone just said the wrong thing to someone with a disability, used the wrong language, did something that someone couldn't deal with, didn't put a ramp up in the right place. I don't believe it's something that you can franchise and trust someone unless they have a disability themselves to make it like it is.
So if you look to the events, to the families and the people participating, what have you observed in terms of change of behavior or in benefits for those who have joined?
Oh wow, that's another really good question. Do you know what? It's the confidence I see, and it's what I hear back from the parents, and what. So there's so much I could say about the event, but one of the things that I'm really proud of is our collateral. So we had them. Our t-shirts are amazing quality. Like, we literally don't scrimp on anything we do, and our medals are, because I came fourth in the Paralympics, which we don't need to talk about, but I didn't get a medal, and so I modelled our medals for the superhero series on a Paralympic medal. So they are 5 millimeters thick, and they are massive. I mean, they're massive. They're so big that we have to put Velcro on the back for health and safety reasons. But it's that kind of thing. So the people who win the medals, especially the children, they all take them into school the next day to show. So it's that kind of sense of pride of having achieved something really big. So I think
yeah.
the thing that we see mostly in the people who've done it is, first of all, a kind of a sense of belief they couldn't quite believe they achieved it because it's huge. And then secondly, just a sense of pride and the desire to come back and do it again.
And I think, building confidence and building pride and a sense of self-achievement is really important when you face so much exclusion and so much innate prejudice in society, that it's really great to be able to create an event where there is cohesion and people feel confident enough to even start and attempt it, and when they complete, then what you've done is really ramp up that confidence even more. So what percentage would you say of your participants come back year after year? Because it sounds like it's pretty high.
I would say that if people can come back, they do come back. And so I can't give you an exact number, but I would be very surprised if someone who does it this year doesn't do it next year. So, I mean, to give you an idea of the size of us, we only have sort of 2.5 people who work here full time. We're still, we're not managed to grow as anywhere near as big as I would like. And so everything we do is organic. So we don't have a marketing budget. We don't have a spend. So I would say that everything we've achieved has been purely by word of mouth. So that sort of speaks for itself. So the first year we did Superhero Try, we had about 500 people there, and this year we had 5,000 people.
Wow.
And we've had a pandemic in the middle.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we're full. We couldn't have taken any more this year.
That's exciting.
So okay, people can't participate this year, but how can people get involved if you're a family member or someone with a disability that wants to participate?
You
How
can still
do you get
sign up.
involved?
So go to our website, www.superheroseries.co.uk, and you can sign up for all of next year's events. And you can we've still got some spaces in Winter Wonderworlds, which is on the 1st of December. And then if you don't have a disability and you want to come and have a look and be a part of it, spectators are free, so you can come down and have a look. And if you'd like to be a volunteer, our sidekick volunteering opportunities are open for our events next year. We're, again, with our sidekicks, that's the other thing with our volunteering. The organisations that we work with, that we call super partners, they offer it to their colleagues as volunteering. And we have 350 psychic volunteers for Superhero Try, 150 for Winter Wonderworlds, and they're always full because of the opportunities you get as a volunteer. You're not, I mean, we do have people helping in parking and things like that, but predominantly they are actually hands-on assisting people around the course. I mean, it's the most amazing psychic opportunity. So that's how people can come and get involved. And I can
And
send you
also
the TV link.
sponsors. Let's get you
Say
more
that again.
sponsors. More sponsors too. Sorry, I accidentally stepped on you. Sorry.
Always need
But
more sponsors.
yeah.
Every year we wake up on the 1st of January and we start from scratch with a target to raise £650,000 to make the two events stick together. And it's a huge feat, but we do it year on year. But it's just, and like I say, there's 2.5 of us, and we just go out to people who we think are really passionate about disability.
Yeah, and it's a tough ask, because I know that getting corporates to sign up to this stuff is is not always easy.
It's
With the
really
best will,
tough.
with the
I
best will
think
in
I
the
would
world.
say though on that is that where I always feel confident is we have 100% retention. So once a partner comes, sees it for themselves, takes part, gets their volunteers on
Hmm.
board, we know we've kept hold of the same partners we've had since the start. But it's just,
Wow.
trying to keep up with those costs, those price rises out there. And also I think with our community, what we're seeing is less and less people being able to pay to come and take part. So, whereas we would have gifted 20% of our places, we're now gifting 60%, which is
Wow.
big.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
Wow.
it's what it is, and I wouldn't give it up for
It is just
anything.
a reality. Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah. That's why
yeah.
we need, important and corporate sponsors. So that's why we
Exactly.
appreciate the corporations that support our community. And that's a good
Yeah,
way
we
to
very
support
much
it.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that we want to see more corporates engaging in community events, and both in terms of cash sponsorship and also in terms of volunteering. The UK is quite good in that it allows corporations to allow people to have days that they can work and volunteer, and that's something that I don't think every organisation realises that they can. It's a way of enabling organisations through volunteering. Not everything has to be cash. Big companies, although everyone thinks that they've got tons of money, often are very siloed, and so finding creative ways of getting those contributions, I think, is really something
Yeah,
that
and I would
is,
definitely say it's a nice mix of the two. I
yeah,
think all the time with some things, like especially with what we do, because we're subsidising the places and the events themselves. Cash, unfortunately, does play a massive role.
of
But
course,
in
yeah,
addition to that, you're absolutely right. Our events wouldn't happen without the participants and superheroes. That first and foremost. B, without the psychic support, and C, without the finances but needed behind it. So, is trying to get that mix right. But for me, the sooner I manage to raise the funds needed for the event, I can focus on. The only reason I did this was for the superheroes. So it's nice to be able to get the kind of the commercial side out of the way, so I can focus on the fun part, which is getting the superheroes out there in their boats, on their bikes, and taking part in the event.
yeah,
No, it
absolutely.
must be amazing to see it. And the
It's
videos y'all
amazing. You
must
should
capture
come.
from it.
You should
I
come.
want to come. I want to come. I want Sarah to do it. I think she would love it.
Oh yeah,
Um, I
absolutely.
didn't know about it. I'm so excited. Yeah, this is a really wonderful thing to do.
Yeah, it really
Congratulations.
is.
Yeah,
Thank you.
excellent. So I think want to wish you a fantastic winter Wonder Wheels event. Look forward to sharing this with our community. Need to
Oh, thank
thank
you.
our sponsors, Amazon and MyClearText, for keeping us inclusive, captioned on air. And thank you again, Sophia. It's been a pleasure catching up with you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. So nice to see you all.